How's it going, guys? Got a little project going here today. It's not really a fun one, but you know, things you gotta do. The engine doesn't want to turn over. And you can see here, starter just turns. Probably the starter clutch, or it could be teeth busted off of one of the gears for the starter. One of the things about it is that when my cousin said it died, it stalled out on him, and he went to start it, and it was doing that. It wouldn't turn over, and so he tried bump starting it, and it just misfired and wouldn't start. And he was all by himself. Luckily, there was a hill to go down to try to bump start it, but it wasn't successful at starting it. So I had to pull him up out of the woods with the little side-by-side thing. But, so it kind of leads me to believe that possibly a gear's broke and it got into the stator. It's very possible, as all the little magnets in the flywheel. But I'm hoping it's just a starter clutch and there's nothing wrong with the ignition system. It could be also could be two problems at once just happened to hit at the same time. This coil wire is kind of burned into, it's touching the head. So I need to address that situation at least. Maybe try to tie it up so it's not touching. And I already taped it up once because it was touching before. And I had it so it wasn't touching, but somehow maybe the heat or whatever just relaxed and went down to it. Went through my junk. I got like an engine down in there that pretty much the bike it came off of had like, it had a bunch of holes in the bottom of the block from getting slammed on rocks and stuff. And the guy rebuilt it and didn't have it in time right and busted all the valves off. And so it was pretty much just junk, but starter clutch was last known work in it, so here it is. And we'll see if we can use this. Now it is used and, you know, old, so I could put it in there and last a week, but it might last for a long time. But that's why you save old stuff, to try to reuse it. Gaskets. I don't like buying gaskets, especially like, it's cheaper to buy a whole set than it is just one, like the one $20 or more just for one gasket. And or you can get like the entire set for the engine for 30 bucks. So when I buy a whole set, I oftentimes trace out a whole bunch of them on, well, I think this is a Rice Krispies box or something. Actually, my favorite cardboard to use is from the Red Baron boxes. It's thinner and it seems to be more dense. But I had a stack of them and my wife went through and threw them all away for me, so I had to use a Rice Krispies box. But if I'm going to rebuild a whole engine, I'll buy all new gaskets. You know, but I try to trace out these side case ones because, you know, if you got to do something stupid like this. But well, we'll get started on this. Alright, so the items that need removed just to even get into the engine. We gotta remove the gear shifter, which looks like I might have some trouble passing over this foot peg. And I'm not taking all this foot peg stuff loose to get the gear shifter off. I'll grind that off if I have to right here. The sprocket cover, the plastic cover on here, and the aluminum cover right there that gets to the gears. And I think last but not least, I'll get this stator cover off. Alright, so far it's looking pretty good. There's no broken teeth on these. And my gasket's good. I'm not even going to bother trying to make a new gasket to put on here because this one is just fine. And sorry about the lighting in here. I've been out here, this is the third day in a row out here at the garage. And one night we actually had a fire and stayed here several hours after dark, and I had all kinds of lights going and stereo and for 2 days, and so the power is kind of minimal. So I just got just this one room with the lights. But well, it's looking like starter clutch is fried because I can move this gear back and forth. It should only turn one direction and freeze going the other. So it's looking pretty good as far as that. It's possible that the pickup coil or pulser could be full of steel mud because of burning the clutch. Pretty much when these starter clutches go bad, there's a couple different styles. This style here, these little sprags in here are like a S shape, and when they get close to being worn out, and what they do is that when it goes to turn one direction, they kind of kick and kind of cam against the shaft in the center here. But whenever they get close to being wore out, they'll turn and catch, but then they don't want to release. So then the engine is literally turning the starter because it's not releasing it. And you know, it'll continue to start back up until they burn out, and that's probably the high pitched squeal that you hear is it burning them. And you get wee little metal fragments off of them. You know, it might build up in these magnets. And then also your pickup coil is a magnet, or magnetized, so it could potentially get all over it. Alright, so these foot pegs and Nerf bar things are giving me trouble. I can't get nothing past over here. But it's going to be a little bit of a surprise, but you see here the starter clutch isn't working. But I kind of discovered something else. Can't really show you at this point, but yeah, something came loose. Alright, I got them pesky Nerf bars off, and you see I put it up on blocks like this. And this makes it so all the oil goes to one side of the engine, and I can take the cover off, and I got a little bit of drippage going, but nothing major. This thing probably needs an oil change anyways, but I don't have oil today, and I kind of like to see it run. But most typically you go and get a bunch of loose particles and stuff down in there anyways. You're not really going to flush them out, so you're better off just to get them all sucked up into the oil filter and then change the oil filter out. One thing I like to note is that anybody ever have a stripped out shifter on one of these 300EXs? It's just this right here. I mean, see if I can get it in its place. Yeah, it just slides in there. You know, so if you ever strip one of these out, don't fret, man, because you ain't got to. All you got to do is take this side case off, and it just pulls out. It doesn't go all the way through the engine or anything stupid. Anyway, the reason why this thing is not starting is that this bolt came loose. And it's probably my fault. I might have done something like, you know, stuck the flywheel on there and turned the bolt down by hand, and then, you know, with the plans of going back later and tighten it up, and then forgot about it, you know, a week later or something, and then, you know, just came back and put the rest of the motor together and forgot about that nut, that bolt. That's probably the culprit. But, yeah, see, right now it's grabbing. Well, I'm going to take it off there and inspect stuff. The stator looks good. I don't see anything wrong with that, so maybe it just gave him a fritz of not wanting to start, or it could be two problems just landed at the same time, like this thing here getting burnt through. It does feel a little crispy on the back side, so that might be the situation there. But or maybe this thing coming out, this flywheel coming out went out of range of the pickup coil. That could be it too. It just kept working its way out here and went out of range. But get that guy off, see what we got. So I figured out why the starter clutch was just turning and turning, and why the engine died at the same time. It sheared the key in half. So I went to go think about digging in my junk to try to find out one of these keys, and it kind of dawned on me that I do things with some thought behind it. Anything that went to the starter clutch, as far as removing it, is in here. And I stuck the new key, the key for it, to the magnets in there. So I got me a new key. And also, kind of noticed that this bolt, somebody bashed the crap out of it. It wasn't me, because I have a puller for these in. Take this off, so I wouldn't have no reason to beat on this. And I'll replace that bolt at the same time. It's like somebody's kind of banged on this one a little bit, but not as bad. At least I can get a socket on it. That might have been the reason that I stopped with this. I couldn't get a socket on it, and I just had it hand tight, and I was going to do something with it later and then forgot. Shame, shame. But yeah, I can just throw this back together. It'll probably be just fine. So the starter clutch actually looks better shape than this old one does. You know, from that junk motor. It's kind of galded looking, the sprags. Alright, got the flywheel back in there, and the starter clutch is working like she should. I used an impact to put that baby on there. And a puller for these, just to show you guys. Got it out just to show you. A couple different pullers in here. Puller for this engine is just a bolt. I couldn't really tell you what size it is at the moment. I don't have a mic here. Yeah, it's just a bolt. Went to an industrial supply place and took a flywheel in and found the bolt to fit it. And got the gasket cut out. And then I got punch these holes out. And the easiest way that I found to do it is I made these out of Allen bolts. And I just stuck them in a drill press, drilled them out. Got various different sizes sometimes out of the same Allen, and then just sharpened them all up on a bench grinder. I got little punches to punch out these holes. Kind of found that punching them out on like masonite board is the nicest. They come out the nicest. Putting them on a 2x4 or something, sometimes it just doesn't really cut them. It just kind of breaks them off. So we'll get them punched out. Well, there it is, all punched out. Looks good for a free gasket to me. One thing about making them out of this stuff is that they tend to bleed. They won't like drip oil onto the floor, but they just kind of, you'll see it get kind of wet all the way around them. Like I said, the best ones I've seen is pizza boxes, Red Baron pizza boxes. Them don't really bleed too much. I did another experiment too of like taking spray paint and spray painting them on both sides, and it seems like I didn't get any bleeding on those, and they sealed better. But when you went to take it apart, gasket was stuck to the case, which is usually what you get with gasket material. But spray painting them seemed to help a lot, but I don't have time for that today. Alright, got the stator cover back on there. Gasket was a little like misaligned a little bit, but the same was the previous one when I made it. And I think the gasket set that I bought, that I traced it after, was, it said China real big on the bottom, and it was only like 25 bucks for the whole set. And some of the gaskets, like the head gasket, really look kind of chintzy. So I'm thinking those gaskets really wasn't very good. Most of the time when I trace them out, a good gasket, trace them out nice, they usually just line right up. I mean, as long as you're always, you start tracing up here, and the whole time you're making sure that the gasket's in your lines that you maybe, when you get down here, then it usually works out nice. Probably could have reused this gasket, but this one here, you got the oil laying in the bottom, and I figure I'd just be better off to make a new one. I'm going to reuse this one just because it's way up there. Everything seems to be going nice. Looks like somebody made a mark right there, like thinking that they needed to have this lined up with something. I don't know. never mind. But anyways, yeah, I think we're all good here. I think I did take and get his little granules and stuff, the dust, you know, dirt that I could get to with a rag. I kind of went down in there with a screwdriver and kind of shoveled it out. But I mean, I could take the drain plug out of it and flush down in it, and you're just going to flush it down in it, and it's not really going to, per se, come out of the drain hole. These engines have two filters. There's one in the bottom, and you know that you have to take the whole engine apart to even get to it, and then there's the regular oil filter that you can change. So stuff I really ain't going to get into it going through two filters. But well, I'll put this thing back together and see if she runs. Alright guys, got it all put back together, and well, I gotta tighten up the couple bolts down there, but she runs nice. Yeah, I love this bike. This is the best bike I've ever owned, I think. But yeah, catch you guys later.